English is the world's topmost lingua franca and is widely used for various communication purposes around the globe. Standardized tests, like the International English Language Testing System and the Test of English as a Foreign Language, measure English language proficiency for non-native English speakers. Passing such examinations guarantees better career opportunities, for it is widely accepted. As of the recent result of the English Proficiency Index, 7 leading European countries, including Netherlands, Austria, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Portugal, and Sweden dominate as the best English speakers in the world. Perez and Rubio, 2020. In the Philippines, English is the most commonly used medium of instruction. Despite our mother tongue, the English language has been used primarily in most schools from preschool to tertiary level to the earliest record of America's establishment of pedagogy in our country. To achieve academic success, students should possess a certain level of English language proficiency which pertains to the person's ability to utilize language for various communication purposes. English proficiency covers a wide range of English language proficiency and expertise in macro skills like reading, grammar, and vocabulary use. On the other hand, unfortunately, the Philippines rapidly declined from 27th place to the 20th place in 2019 and still in danger of depletion with a drastic change in education system due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, Magsambal 2020. The threat of the virus pushed schools and other educational institutions to shift to alternative distance learning, which spurs a digital revolution in educational system. Barot, Laneres, and Del Rosario 2021. Probiana 2020 details DepEd's 4 primarily alternative learning modalities, which are face-to-face learning, distance learning, online learning, and modular learning. Likewise, a customary face-to-face learning may no longer be relevant as the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, adopts a plan to implement flexible learning at the tertiary level in the coming academic year. Malipat 2021. The sudden transition in educational system creates dilemmas among learners on which suitable learning modality to choose. Moreover, adopting new learning modalities reveals several significant concerns such as educational policy and innovative pedagogy, socioeconomic factors, psychosocial factors of learners, and technology, which has directly impacted students' academic success, including their English language proficiency. Tonitsa, Smith, and Ramos 2020. In the Philippine system of education, numerous complications arise despite the extreme efforts of government to make education under the pandemic available to all Filipino students. Rotas and Kahapay 2020. Financial struggles have been an issue to families and education even though the government had already established free education to state universities and colleges. Students at the tertiary level need money covering the cost of study for buying suitable materials including books and other gadgets and getting accommodations in universities and colleges. Daoud, Narwani, and Yusuf 2018. In the COVID-19 pandemic, students spent money on quality mobile phones with ample data storage, computer sets, and internet connectivity necessary for distance learning. Being under the Commission on Higher Education umbrella, the transition in teaching and learning did not miss the Mindoro State University. Being the frontrunner in the field of education in the province of Oriental Mindoro, the transformation in learning modality and current struggles and socioeconomic status under the COVID-19 pandemic impedes the quality of education and the stand of the university as the leading educational institution. To focus, the first-year students of BSEd English of Mindoro State University can utilize learning modality and socioeconomic status to acquire English proficiency in vocabulary, grammar, and reading comprehension. These factors may influence the English language proficiency enhancement necessary to advance in more complicated subjects in the succeeding years. Therefore, researchers conduct this study to determine if there is a significant relationship between learning modality, socioeconomic status, and level of English language proficiency of BSEd's English students of Mindoro State University, Calapan City Campus. This study aims to determine the relationship between learning modalities, socioeconomic status, and the English language proficiency of BSEd English students of Mindoro State University, Calapan City Campus. Specifically, this research intends the following questions. First, what is the profile of BSEd students in terms of number 1, learning modalities, and number 2, socioeconomic status? Second question, what is the level of English language proficiency of the students in terms of first, vocabulary, second, grammar, and third, reading comprehension? The third question is there a significant relationship between the learning modality, socioeconomic status, and the level of English language proficiency? Fourth, based on the findings, what output may be proposed? There is no significant relationship between learning modalities, socioeconomic status, and the level of English language proficiency of BSEd English students of Mindoro State University, Calapan City Campus.
SABA 2014 defines Moore's transactional theory as the conceptualization of distance as either mental or physical aspect of education. Through geographical distance that separates the teachers and learners, behaviors develop that affect both learning and teaching. Distance plays vital role in the communication between teachers and learners and their interest and drives to learn, plus the effectiveness of the instructional methods and design. Concerning the study, the transactional theory provides a synonymous skeletal image of this research significant concept and objective. Distance affects the acquisition and level of English proficiency of the learners. Space, either geographical or mental, has a direct impact, either negative or positive, on the cognition, metacognition, and affection of the learners, thus possibly hindering the successful implementation of the distance learning modalities. Also, the obstruction of communication due to distance is a significant factor to consider. Likewise, Simonson et al. 2011 assert in an equivalency hypothesis that online education is not equal to regular education, but it is equivalent. The foundation of Simonson's equivalency theory is that learning experiences should be similar rather than identical, regardless of whether the learner is in conventional or distant context. Simonson's evolving view of remote learning and similarity of learning opportunities offers some intriguing approaches to distance education. Equivalency theory brings forth a harmonized depiction in this research's essential notion and goal. The core of this notion is that no student should anticipate learning in the same way whatever mode of learning they have. As a result, it stands to reason that the more equivalent online learners' experience are to those blended learners, the more similar the learning result will be. In each learning modality, equivalency provides learners with comparable learning experiences. It also implies the effectiveness and equal acceptance in every student. With socioeconomic status, Claridge 2015 states that Bourdieu's social capital theory highlights the structural constraints and unequal access to institutional resources based on class, gender, and race. Liu and Chang 2008 describe Bourdieu's social capital theory in education as form of parents' expectations, commitment, and connection present within the family, education, institution, and society which are significant for learner success. Parents' social and moral obligation is to educate their children through social capital theory. Parents' involvement and investment impact their children's academic performance and achievements. In connection to this study, parents' socioeconomic contribution plays a significant role in attaining greater heights in education. Like other Asian families, Filipino parents value their children's education more importantly at the tertiary level. Parents fund their children's needs for schooling like buying school supplies, books, and electronic gadgets necessary for learning which aids children in advancement and attaining degrees. Likewise, parents finance their children education by sending them to school that offer quality education. Furthermore, Mishra 2013 states that Marx's conflict theory in education emphasizes the socioeconomic inequalities visible in classrooms and educational institutions. He added that those learners from socioeconomically fortunate families finish schooling with minimal difficulties and experience better education, implying that conflict exists among social groups. Similarly, he agreed with theorists explaining the existence of competition in public schools as preservation of societal hierarchies and opposed school curriculum favoring the elites. Like social capital theory, conflict theory connects to the study of socioeconomic status of families and gives significant contribution to learner success. Despite solid campaigns against discrimination in schools, students are often divided and classified varying in ethnicity, social, and financial status, which raise the conflict among them. Conflict happens since there are limited resources such as textbooks, computer sets, and other supplies including teachers' attention necessary for learning. As a result, these groups often compete to avail these resources, widening the gap affecting their academic accomplishments. In conceptual framework, we have input, process, and output. For our input, we have factors in language learning, which are learning modality and economic status. We also include the level of English proficiency in terms of vocabulary, grammar, and reading comprehension. We also include the Spearman's Raw statistical method of analysis, and lastly, researcher-made questionnaire. In the process of our study, we have research design, validation, data collection, data interpretation, and evaluation. Our output will be proposed instructional material to uplift the level of English proficiency in terms of vocabulary, grammar, and reading comprehension.
Learners and teachers had to adjust to the new normal of learning since the pandemic began, in which students learn at home and select from a variety of learning modes given by their institution. Due to the new normal of learning, researchers want to know the factors in language learning and how it affects their English proficiency. The researchers chose two indicators for the independent variables and three sub-indicators under the dependent variable of English language proficiency to help them provide specific results. The indicators of English language proficiency include vocabulary, grammar, and reading comprehension. On the other hand, the factors in language learning are learning modality and socioeconomic status. The researchers looked for related literature and studies that could serve as a guide in conducting this study. The related literature comprises foreign and local, and each contains literature about the study's two variables, the learning modalities, and English proficiency. However, the foreign and local studies centered on the relationship between the two variables. Upon reading and reviewing different articles and research, the researchers received affirmations regarding socioeconomic status in language learning. They also realized that young learners from wealthy homes with more social and financial resources might be given more English learning opportunities or more access to learning and hence achieve higher levels of English language competence than those from less privileged backgrounds. On the other hand, the researchers found comparable evidence between learning modalities implemented in an educational institution. The study cited proved that the condition of the socioeconomic status of the learners has an impact of the English language proficiency of these students indeed. Though these studies show various implications for English language learning, the learners are much capable of attaining their preferred learning modalities based on the availability of resources. As shown in the related literature and studies, researchers concluded that this study could have mixed results. The factors in language learning might have a negative and positive impact on the student's language learning, or English language proficiency, or do not have any impact. Overall, researchers will use the results to create instructional material depending on the respondents' questions or statements. Study will use a quantitative research design to find the relationship between the learning modality, socioeconomic status, and the level of English language proficiency of the respondents and the first-year BS Ed English students in Mindoro State University of Calapan City campus. The quantitative approach focuses on utilizing statistical, mathematical, or numerical analysis of data collected from questionnaires, polls, and surveys and generalizing it across a group of people to explain the specific phenomenon according to Bob in 2010. Moreover, this study will employ a correlational design using the Spearman-Ross statistical method to compare and find the significant relationship between the two variables. A statistical treatment of data. The researchers will apply the Spearman-Ross, a statistical test that measures the strength of association between two variables. Rather than focusing on disparities in means, the Spearman-Ross correlation coefficient focuses on variations in data rank orders, Wang et al. 2015. Since it relies on rankings rather than assumptions about the distributions of the two variables, Spearman correlation does not require continuous level data, interval, or ratio. Furthermore, the Spearman correlation makes no assumptions about the variable's normal distribution. It will reveal if there is a relationship between the learning modality, socioeconomic status, and English proficiency of respondents using this formula. Where P is equal to Spearman correlation, RS is equal to Spearman correlation, DI ratio RGXI minus RGYI is equal to the difference between the two ranks of each observation, where n is equal to the number of scores. Research instrument. In determining the relationship between the learning modality, socioeconomic status, and English language proficiency of the respondents in the first-year English major students in Mindoro State University, Calapan City campus, the researchers will apply a three-part researcher-made test with a total number of 90 items. Using Google Forms, every test is divided into two. The first part consists of questionnaires about learning modalities and socioeconomic status. The second part is about the English language proficiency test of vocabulary, grammar, or reading comprehension composed of 30 items multiple choice questionnaires varying from easy, moderate, and challenging to test the level of English proficiency. Each assessment for all categories is given without time pressure.